Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Baka podcast.
Baka. It's amazing how every time you open your mouth, you prove you're an idiot.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to a mini-sode of Baka. We are normally an anime podcast that every 2 weeks watches an anime and comes together to talk about it, but in the weeks in between, we do these little mini-sodes just for the fun of it, to talk about random stuff. Sometimes we bring up topics that we debate all week long about what the meaning of art is. I have not enjoyed this week. But let me introduce my co-host to discuss art and anime. That is the topic of this mini-sode. First off, we have the sour to my drinks, Jeremy.
That almost sounds like a bad thing, but I guess it could be a good thing. So I actually got an Amazon Prime membership because of School ID and started watching The Tick from 2016. Mm-hmm. And I've got to say, I was impressed. I mean, it has its flaws, but if you're a fan of the Tick cartoon, which I was a huge fan, absolutely loved it.
Absolutely.
This does a really interesting job of making it sort of bridging the gap between the comedy of the Tick and a more realistic drama setting like you'd expect from like Daredevil or what's that one with the girl that knows Luke Cage? I knew her name. Can't remember it right now.
Jessica Jones?
Yes, Jessica Jones. Where it's like, it's trying to be serious. It's trying to be gritty. It's trying to be gory. And yet it also carries this absolutely silly humor. And it does such a good job with the writing and the timing. I actually really highly recommend it. It's the main character gets a bit annoying sometimes. Like Arthur, he can be really annoying just because he's always whiny, which I don't remember Arthur being whiny, but
he
like you guys,
super nerd. I remember that.
Yeah, but he didn't so much have a complex of like, the world is so hard, it's so against me.
No, I don't remember that.
Yeah, he kind of has that in this.
Okay. All right. Well, we also have the spicy to my curry, Jason.
I will take that as a compliment because I love curry.
Both those are from Fooly Cooly.
Oh, forget that compliment then.
I tried out the Path of Exile Incursion a little bit. Probably have about an hour into it. I'm not sure the game's pulling me back in. I will have to say the incursions are fun. They don't make a lot of sense lore-wise, which PoE is not great about lore anyways. I know I'm going to get some hate mail because of that statement.
I do not think the audience has a huge crossover. I don't think we have a ton of people who are like, I come for Jason's PoE updates and then about anime. Did you even say it was Path of Exile, or are we just assuming?
No, he said it.
Okay. I said PoE, but I guess I should have said Path of Exile.
I don't listen to you anyway, so.
Yeah, the moment I start talking, just tune me out, especially if it's about Skyrim. So it's weird because you go back in time to get keys so you can open doors so that they'll be open in the future when you go to the future because if you go to the future and you didn't open them in the past, then they'll be closed. You won't be able to get to the loot.
We're all thinking like you go to the past, you unlock it, and someone comes along or he locks it 2 days later. And
but I guess the loot isn't there in the past; it's only there in the future. So to get the loot, you have to go. Yeah,
so that means somebody literally came into the open, unlocked room, and put the loot there for you to get in the future,
right?
And you know what? I know how much time travel bugs you. That's probably driving you crazy.
Yeah.
Actually, making that Back to the Future poster was a little bugged me a little bit, but I was so proud of the final product I couldn't mind.
It was one of our favorite thumbnails was our last mini-sode where you had us as the 3 Morty McFlies. That was so good. Scroll down if you're on YouTube. Go look at it. It's really cool. So I went back and rewatched the anime Fooly Cooly this week, and
No,
so glad that you didn't make that be the mini-sode.
Well, it is kind of why this mini-sode exists, because we did have a discussion about it. Now, the sequel series Progressive has started on Adult Swim, and I have not started watching that because I want to wait for it to wrap up before I go and binge it. But I am excited for it, so I went back and watched the original. And I had brought the topic up to you guys because I know you didn't like it. And Mother's Basement had made a video, so I brought Fooly Cooly back up to you to try, not to convince you, but kind of just get more in depth about why you didn't like it. And what we came to is, while we all had very differing opinions on it, and I do actually want your opinions on it in brief form again, because I want people to hear it and I want to hear other people's opinions. It really made me think that, man, it's at least an artistic expression in an anime, because it drove an emotional reaction from each of us. Now, I know we've had talks all week about what art truly is, but that was my thinking that led us into this. And so I went back and rewatched Fooly Cooly, and I'm at an age where I get a lot of the references now. I'm an anime fan. Since when I first watched it, I get most of the anime references, and I understood the plot now, and I kind of see where they threw the breadcrumbs. And I also understand why people don't understand the plot, because one of the characters lies constantly, and like 1 out of every 4 things she says is actually the truth. She is an alien. She is a space cop, but she also says she's a nurse, and she also says that she's a monster. Like, it's nutty, and I know that. So I wanted to talk about anime that we found artistic, more than just the story or we like the characters, but where something else in the anime drew us in, or we found pleasing to our art sensibilities. Because Fooly Cooly is definitely one for me. And like I said, I also kind of wanted to get your guys' recap on your thoughts on Fooly Cooly to get our audience talking about it, because I am actually really interested on how different people react to this chaotic, random anime.
Jeremy, should I go first, or?
Yeah, go right ahead.
I'll straight up admit, I haven't seen Fooly Cooly. I've only seen clips. I've only seen reviews. I've only seen screenshots here and there. And also, like, the main story, I really didn't know until Troy kind of laid it out for me. There's a couple things that repel me personally about it. One, I don't find it artsy at all. I find it irritating to look at. And
because the art style changes like at the drop of a hat every couple minutes.
It's not consistent, but it's not even just the art style, because I'm okay with art styles changing. I mean, the Fate that we just watched, Apocrypha, did that for some of the fight scenes. They were so dramatic, they changed the art style. That wasn't as jarring as what happens in the scenes that I've seen for Fooly Cooly, but they'll also switch like up from just regular anime to like manga pains, and I find that really frustrating just to watch as a viewer. The other thing is like, from what I understand of the anime, it's trying to shove so many things in a box. The best way I could kind of describe it is, if I wanted to paint a painting, but I wanted to paint a painting with every single color I could find, but I want all those colors on my palette to be available for me to draw with. If I have so many of them on my palette, they're going to mix together, and I'm going to get this blurry, muddy, ugly brown. And that's the only color I'm going to be able to paint with, because I want all the colors.
And that's what you see Fooly Cooly as, right?
Right.
All right, Jeremy, real quick, because I do want to talk about your guys' art animes. That is actually more important. But your quick thoughts on Fooly Cooly.
So I saw Fooly Cooly multiple times on Toonami way back in the day, and I did not have much of an anime background at the time, just a very few select anime. So I didn't get most of the references. Certainly hadn't read manga of any kind at this point. And so the references just went right past my head. You know, scenes where characters would have bloody noses that were just way overboard, where like the whole front of their face is just dripping and covered in blood and everything. And that's supposed to mean something. It meant nothing to me. I was looking at it and I'm going, what is going on here? Tons of things like that. Everything just went over my head. And in addition, the scenes where you did have some kind of character development or emotional connection you were supposed to have with different characters, there was a lot of strange disloyalty, especially borderline sexual tension disloyalty between the main character and some of the high school girl that he's associating with, and just this sense of like she expresses she likes him, and then she's got disloyalty, and is she after his dad now? And is he catching them doing stuff? Like, what the heck? Now he's killing his dad. It's just this really weird stuff. And the way the scenes play off of each other is so hectic and overpaced and just crazy that I couldn't follow or make sense of things. And when you gave us the information in that MB video about what the director said and how he said basically, you know, I'm okay with people. I kind of want people to be okay with saying, I don't understand what I'm seeing, and it's okay to be dumb and not get it. And I felt trapped. Like, if that's your intention, is to present something that I can't find an answer to this riddle in, then you've just laid a trap to make me feel stupid. And I don't like to feel stupid, so I find your anime offensive and irritating. And I realize that many people probably get the references, and there's a lot there for them, and they like it. But for me, I just walk away with a flavor in my mouth of none of that felt good. None of it.
So really quick, just for me, obviously I'm the one who brought it up. So I love the anime, and I watched it for the first time when I was a young man who had just had children. And I was in that part of my life where you're going from a boy to an adult. And I did not understand most of what I was watching. I think I started it on episode 3 for some reason because of Toonami's airing. There was an emotional connection for me. And then I've watched it so many times since then. I get a lot of the finer details of it, but that's my take. That's also my biggest artistic pick. I love that the art style changes based on the mood and the setting, and we go from like wavy, squiggly lines to the manga form joke that I think is very solid, to very clear, like, and it's the same company as Evangelion, so you get very clear cut faces and very well drawn faces, very well executed action scenes, but then sometimes there's just really random blurry action scenes. I love it, and that's my artistic one. So let's go on to your guys' artistic animes. What impressed you beyond just a good story, good characters? What's something, an anime that had something else that was just like, wow, I am impressed by this, or whatever you feel is artistic, whatever your definition is.
I have a feeling I'm going to steal this one from you guys. But the first one that came to my mind was Made in Abyss. Every single layer they went to was just a complete, lovely visual spectacle in my eyes.
But is that really art, Jason?
Don't stop it.
Yes. It depends on how we
of that. Jeremy, how about you?
So the first thing that came to mind for me was an anime that was recommended to me by my brother-in-law called Tekkon Concrete. And it is a very strangely drawn anime. The backgrounds are absolutely amazingly detailed, and the world gets across that sense of being lived in and believable so well.
Yeah, I know which one you're talking about.
You know that one, yeah. But the characters, the way the characters are drawn is almost actively repelling. To me, at least. It reminds me of years and years and years ago when I was a little kid. There was this book my parents got me, and I can't find it. I don't know what it is. I have looked for it just because it's such a traumatic thing from my childhood. But it's a book about Eskimo cartoon characters. It's like it's drawn in cartoons, not really cartoons, but the way that the Eskimo people's faces are drawn is almost exactly like the way that the people in Tekkon Concrete are drawn. They've got like these weird thin lips that are always just misshapen and strange proportions to the body and face. And it makes you feel so uncomfortable. It does to me, at least. It makes me feel so uncomfortable when I'm watching it. That's what I think of when you say art. Because
so it was art you didn't like.
It was art I didn't like, but yet the anime, I highly recommend watching it because it's a well done anime, and it's a very interesting anime. I almost finished it, but it's so off putting in the way its art just kind of plays against itself.
Do you think is there a reason for the art style? You think, or is it just a Artist Swim style thing?
I want to say it's got something to do with the studio that's producing it, and that maybe it was something they wanted to explore, but I'm not informed. I don't know.
Mine is actually an anime. I did not like the anime. I did not like the characters. The Monogatari series.
Oh yeah, that was on my list too. Baka Monogatari.
Yeah. Jason's a big fan of the movie, but when I went to go sit down and watch the anime, I didn't connect with it. But I went way farther into the anime than I intended to because the art kept being striking to me. It was visually impactful, and it was so well done that even though I hated what I was watching, I wanted to see more of this, what they could do with this medium. It was very good.
There's also a strange interplay of how the characters interact with each other in Baka Monogatari that comes across as artsy in itself.
Yes, the dialogue, very much so.
Yep.
Yeah,
like it's almost like written prose that they're speaking back and forth. This complex riddles.
Right, almost Shakespearean, the way he used to have dialogue. Everything had triple meaning, and you have to really think over every line. What is the full intent of that?
Mm-hmm.
I agree with that. I have a bias a little bit with this one, but I find there's quite a few episodes throughout the series of Mushishi that are just not just stunning, but and captivating for me. Especially the nature shots that they do, because he does a lot of walking throughout the woods and jungles of Japan. But also like the creatures themselves, the Mushishi themselves are very artfully drawn, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was actually my third one. I guess as a consolation, I could provide Princess Mononoke. That one,
I would agree with that.
It made a huge impression on me when I saw that boar covered in worms the first time. And just the way that the music and the atmosphere of each of the environments that the characters wound up in and how the different scenarios played out felt so otherworldly that, I mean, it certainly has its place as a Ghibli film.
When they took the head of the spirit of the forest.
Yes.
Is the shot that, like that whole scene was, wow.
I don't think there's a Studio Ghibli Miyazaki film that I don't find artistic, at least in some way. Now, I have different feelings about like how well each one is as a story and stuff, but I think every single one is beautiful in their own right, and they're almost always worth watching just to see the animation at least once.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Spirited Away, I think, is visually my favorite. Just how crazy they get with the spirit creatures, and just it's just wacky. Really well done.
Yep.
One I wanted to call out was End of Evangelion, and probably also the last episode of regular Evangelion. You could also say all of Evangelion is artistic, but the ones that really struck me visually was those finales. And there's a ton of story behind like what was going on with the director at the time, and he was depressed, and there's just a whole lot of personal feelings poured into an anime ending that was a monster versus mecha anime, and the final episodes aren't about mechas and monsters. It's totally about inner demons and fathers and sons, and it's like, wow, it was really overwhelming for me when I did not understand it and had to go back and rewatch it. And like the last shot of a giant woman's face in the water as humanity is crawling back out of the ocean and emerging into separate life forms, and and then he strangles his friend to prove he's alive. It's very
sounds like Death Stranding.
Everything by
I guess even
Hideo Kojima.
Yeah, Hideo Kojima's PT was artistic, but we're not doing video games. We're doing anime.
Gurren Lagann was pretty artsy near the end.
It was super artsy. Just when you zoom out far enough, it's become art.
I don't disagree. It's just
how can you? You can't. No one can disagree. It's art.
I mean, you see through galaxies. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, if you're chucking galaxies at each other.
It just wasn't. I'm trying to decide if the visuals carried me over, but I think the characters is what hook me in there. I was trying to find anime that the visuals themselves like really grabbed me. I think you're right. Like on Made in Abyss too, that was definitely one that I could see.
Mm-hmm. I was hoping to find something where it was more than just the visuals. I actually, when I first thought about this topic, I kind of took visuals to be almost a cop out.
Yeah,
but
I can see that.
But I don't know. I avoid artsy things almost on purpose, So it's hard to. I don't have
Does
much.
Does that feel?
I'll let it go.
So I don't mind when characters deliver dialogue that has intentional hidden meaning or a unreliable narrator. What I don't like is, and actually that's where Bake Monogatari, I think I said that wrong.
Bake Monogatari, yeah.
Lost me is I got probably to the 5th installment, and it was just so doublespeak and so dramatic with these odd colored skies and weird camera angles. I was just like, what am I watching?
Yeah.
This isn't a story anymore, but like a set piece. And it's just not interesting to me. But that's and I think that's one of the problems I have with Fooly is I can't follow it when a guitar is being pulled out of someone's head or there's
well, it's a portal to another.
Okay.
And you have to make sure to make a ton of sex jokes as you're pulling the guitar out of his head.
Well,
but how he's taking it from behind.
I can hand that part away. Like,
okay.
Constantly there's things growing out of people's heads, and it's like, okay, this is weird. But I do have a challenge for our listeners. In the comments below, tell us your definition of what the word art means to you.
Flame war. It's gonna be great.
Yeah, if you want to experience my hell, go ahead and. I do want to call out for one more thing for Fooly. Like you pointed out, art is kind of a cop out, and I do think I went over that. I was trying to think of stuff like camera angles. I think like Naruto has some really good camera angles in their battles, but Fooly Cooly's music, the pillows, soundtrack is almost half of what that anime is, and the reason to watch that anime. The emotion it puts into the scenes, the final battle has almost a soft rock song going to it, and it just changes everything for me. So that's where we're going to end this. If you have comments on Fooly Cooly, if you have comments on anime that you found to be artistically inspiring, or if you want to talk about the meaning of the word art and what is art, if you want to get into that mess, you can reach us on our Twitter at Baka Podcast, our email, theanimebakaclub@gmail.com, or leave a comment wherever you found this podcast, and it will get back to us. And God help you if these two respond. No, but I would actually really appreciate some feedback on some of these topics. I think there's a lot to chew here, and we've had a lot of offline discussions about it too. But I really think, man, there's just so many different viewpoints that would elevate this. But that is it. I think we should be going. Our current anime is the first 12 episodes of Steins Gate. And so we are currently watching that. We will talk about our review of it next week. And with that, I think we should say goodbye.
Thanks for listening.
Marcel Duchamp.
Sayonara, Chief.